Hello, everyone, and welcome to another elite episode of the Get Authentic with Marques show. My name is Marques Ogden. On today's episode, we are joined by Dr. David Levine. And before bringing him to the stage, I want to thank one of our amazing sponsors. We want to thank the Mandel Family Office. Josh and his brother Jason are amazing individuals who help their clients create a financial legacy to help elevate them and take them where they want to go. Again, we thank these gentlemen for sponsoring this episode. Now, here he is, Dr. Levine. How you doing today, Dr. Levine?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, my friend. First question, Dr. Levine. What does the word authentic/authenticity mean to you?
Being authentic to me means doing the work that I'm doing, and it's coming from my heart. That it's authentically me, and I'm using my gifts and talents to basically help other people, individuals that are suffering with chronic pain, um, and helping to alleviate their pain and suffering. And so I guess that's what being authentic means to me.
You know, Dr. Levine, I really like that because you said the work you're doing is coming from your heart. And when you have work, right, Dr. Levine, it's coming from your heart, it's your passion, it's your
Yes.
calling, it's your love. You
Yep.
never burn out. You're always finding a way to keep doing. That doesn't mean you won't have long days or challenging days. Doesn't mean that. It just means that you always find a way to get results and not excuses. What are your thoughts about that, Dr. Levine?
Yeah. I mean, my mission is to help alleviate human pain and suffering. And when you have a purpose, I think on that level, uh, you don't really get fatigued. It's just driving you to help other people, kind of self-actualize in terms of relieving their pain, and so they could ultimately have enhanced quality of life.
Dr. Levine, before we get into a little bit more about what you do, please tell our global audience a little bit more about yourself, who you are, your backstory, and the work you're doing today to help your clients and your patients.
Okay, so I've been a chiropractor for over 2 decades. In addition to seeing local patients, I've treated over 100 active and former NFL players, NBA players, uh, as well as Hall of Famers, Olympians, world champion boxers. And in addition, most recently for 5 seasons, I've been a personal chiropractor to a five-time All-Pro NFL star, who I've treated before every game. Some of my work has been featured in the Huffington Post, ESPN, NFL, New York Jets pregame show, New York Jets fan-sided, boxing news, etc. Um, and I'm currently donating my time and expertise to U.S. military that have returned from Iraq and Afghanistan with post-war injuries, as well as individuals in homeless shelters enduring chronic pain.
You know what, Dr. B? I love this because as a retired athlete, this is big. The fact you work with current athletes and everyday people and veterans and individuals in that regard, right, Dr. Levine? That means you can connect with a vast array of people. And that's big because the work you do as a chiropractor, it's all about holistic, making your body better, feel better, eliminating pain, removing all types of inflammation,
Mhm.
aches, pains, bruises. So this is very, very good stuff. So, Doctor, let me ask you a question. How did you end up breaking in with athletes? I mean, I would love to hear because a lot of people, right, Dr. Levine, a lot of people strive to try to get with athletes and work with them. And it's not an easy thing to break into, but with over 100 athletes to your credit, right, Dr. Levine, Olympians, things like that, you have established a reputation for performance. So how did you break into that world?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. I was actually having coffee with one of my friends, and he's a sports aficionado, and he saw that the work that I'm doing is very fast acting, and it's non-invasive and non-drug. And he said, if it's that fast working with the average person, maybe you could help to expedite turnaround time of injury with, professional athletes. So I got the idea of calling the NBA Retired Players Association, who at the time was headquartered in New York, and I offered to come down there and demonstrate what I do if you're having, any former players that are, having any chronic pain. And they called me back and they said one of the former Knicks is actually having pretty severe shoulder pain, and he's open to the idea of seeing you. So we actually set up a meeting, and I went there, and this guy was like 6'10", really big guy, and had his arms crossed, like, how are you possibly going to help me? And I said, I'm not sure, but I'd be happy to take a look at it. I examined it, identified the epicenter of his pain, ended up treating it, and in under 10 minutes, his pain went from a 10 to like a 1 or a 2, and the guy was blown away and started calling other former NBA players around the country, telling about what he just experienced. And then he called the COO into the room, who was actually in the other room, and explained what I did. And without any hesitation, she said, "We'd like to work with you." And basically, they had to get approval from the board of directors, and the board of directors included, people like Rick Barry, Earl the Pearl Monroe, and several other Hall of Famers, and they had to approve me coming on at the time to work with the organization. And so it took a couple of weeks, and I was anxious about their response. So I would call them and say any feedback. And uh, one of the person that I was the contact that I had there was like, "Yeah, Earl Monroe just was talking about you." Now, Earl Monroe, as a kid, was my idol. I mean, he was on the New York Knicks. He's a Hall of Famer, um, and he was like him and Clyde Frazier were like the epitome of the ultimate cool in New York, being on the Knicks. And I watched the championships, the two championships they were in. I mean, very, very exciting. So I said Earl Monroe actually used my name in a sentence. Like it was so exciting. So anyway, um, fast forward, I get a call that the board of directors has approved you, and they invited me to their annual NBA event, Legends of Basketball event, and I attended. And as I was getting on the elevator to go up to my room, I run into Earl the Pearl Monroe again, who was like my idol as a child. I used to practice his spin moves in my driveway. I mean, I was a pretty avid basketball fan growing up, and so I get in the elevator. I see him. I said, like, it's an honor to meet you, and interestingly, the night before I went, there was a documentary on him about his growing up in Philadelphia, and he became like a legend on the streets of Philadelphia, and then he went to the Baltimore Bullets, and at the time that's what they were called, and they got traded to the Knicks, and like I followed his whole career, so I just couldn't believe that I met him. And so, yeah, so we ended up, and uh, the next day, um, I was asked to do a talk on pain management, people that are enduring chronic pain. So I ended up speaking. There was a group of people there, former NBA players, and the door opens, and it's Earl the Pearl Monroe, and he's walking in to see me speak, and I just had to pinch myself. I couldn't believe it. So what happened was uh, that morning, they started getting the word out that I was there and available to see players that were having, pain issues, whether it be knee, shoulder, back, neck, etc. And I started. There must have been close to 200 former NBA players there, and so I ended up treating one of the former Chicago Bulls, and he was limping for 2 weeks pretty severely with a knee issue, and I ended up uh, within about 15 minutes, he had a marked limp, and he was in chronic pain. He didn't. His wife told me he didn't sleep for 2 weeks. So after I treated him, he gets up. His limp was gone, and he's walking normally. And he said, "I have no pain." And I see his wife the next day, and she said for the first time in 2 weeks, he slept through the night. So it turns out that he told Earl Monroe, a friend of his, what happened. So when Earl Monroe came to see me, it was because I got his friend from the Chicago Bulls out of chronic pain. So yeah, so it was just an amazing experience. And then I probably treated close to 80, former players, NBA players, when I was at this event, and it was definitely one of the peak moments in my life. And you know, so yeah, it was uh, working with, there were several Hall of Famers there, and it was just an incredible experience.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, here's my next question, right? Thinking about the work you do with athletes, right, or people, and also with the military, right? Dr. Levine, what
Uh-huh.
is it about your work that is so unique? What is, again, I don't want you to get into like all the things, but a lot of people probably say, man, this sounds too good to be true. People coming in and not be able to walk for weeks and then leave you after 10 minutes they can walk, or people that are having chronic pain at a 10 leave your care after 15 minutes and they're at a 1 or a 2, right? So this is something now, again, so I'm hearing the why behind what you do. I'm hearing the who that you help and work with. How? Again, don't go too tactical. I want people to actually reach out to you for consultations, but tell us more about the how you actually help people with your actual awesome work.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a long story for this, for this brief format, but to encapsulate, um, uh, my treatment is non-drug, it's non-invasive, it treats head to toe pain, and it's very fast acting, and it's a manual therapy. It uses my hands. So I'm identifying areas of muscle spasm and trigger points in addition to, the adjustment, the chiropractic adjustment. Addressing soft tissue, uh, things like, you know, hypertonicity, muscle spasm, trigger points. And I've developed a way of being able to reduce this muscle spasm and trigger points extremely fast. And so what I was going to my what happened next is uh, one of the players that was on the Jets actually saw some of the NBA players that the videos of some of the NBA players, former NBA players that I treated. He saw that and he read a story about me. And he actually said he just got traded back to the Jets and he wanted to meet with me. And we set up a meeting. And he was having chronic knee and foot pain, patella tendonitis, plantar fasciitis. And he was actually considering retiring from the NFL after about 4 years. And he was limping on the field the previous season. And he was demoralized because not only was he in pain, but the team he was on was in last place. And so we set up a meeting. And again, I was able to take his pain from a 10 to a 1 or a 2 on the first visit, and he was kind of blown away, and he said, "Let's work through training camp." I saw him prior to training camp. He said, "Let's work through training camp, and let's see how I do, and if I do well, I'd like to book you for the season." And it turned out that he did really well, and through training camp, and it was like he said it was like night and day. And he then booked me for the season, and by his own admission, he was kind of an off the radar player. And um, working with him for the season, uh, I was able to anything that kind of came up along the way, um, I was able to address and keep him relatively pain free throughout the season. And so he was playing, as his father said, who was a former, who played football too and was actually in the military for like 24 years. But his father said he was playing with abandon now because he wasn't playing guarded because of his injuries, and ultimately he became the non-quarterback ESPN MVP of the Jets, and he also became the uh, most indispensable player according to the Associated Press, and he became the number one linebacker in the NFL in free agency. And ultimately, he got traded to another team, and I kind of became depressed because we had such a great synergy and connection. And I got a text from him like a month before the NFL season started, that he said, "Would you consider flying out here?" And and I said yes, and I did. And when I got to meet him at the team hotel, he said, "You were monumental for my career." And he signed this incredible deal with this new team. And I ended up working with him and treating him before every game for the next 5 years and seasons. And he literally has become a 5-time All Pro, team captain, has won numerous awards in the NFL, not only for uh, his work as a player, but also his for his philanthropy. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience.
Dr. Levine, this has been fantastic. So I just have one final question for you, my friend. When it comes to you, right? I know you told us like how you do it, right? So I want you to kind of give us like a combination of you have your why, your who, and your how. Combine that into like your mission statement, which will basically tell people why you do things you do, who you help, and how you're different. And basically, right, Dr. Levine, why they should choose you over somebody else. What is that it factor, that why factor to why we should work with Dr. David Levine?
Well, I mean, obviously, people are free to work whoever they would like to work with. I'm certainly not the only, talented person out there, but um, I think my ultimate mission is, I said, to help alleviate human pain and suffering, number one. Number two, um, I'd like to become one of the go-to doctors in professional sports for treating chronic pain, um, and helping to expedite turnaround time of injury for professional athletes across all sports. And secondly, use that as a platform to do the philanthropic work that I'm doing, uh, helping to uh, helping uh, post-deployed soldiers, servicemen and women returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, for example, that are enduring chronic pain, and also working with people in homeless shelters, so that are also enduring chronic pain. So yeah, so that's, I think the big picture is to use my work in professional sports and the visibility as credibility to continue to do the philanthropic work that I'm doing and to continue to work with the military and people in homeless shelters and other marginalized um, communities and individuals that kind of go by the wayside and that nobody really pays attention to. And these people need help, they need attention, they need care. And I think that's really kind of the big picture.
Dr. David Levine, thank you so much for joining us today on the Get Authentic with Marques show. How can people get in touch with you if they want to find out more about booking for an appointment or getting a consultation? How can our audience connect with you?
I'd be happy to give you my phone number if you'd like. So
Of course, go ahead.
you could reach me at 201-739-4200. And then you can also, if you Google me, Dr. David Levine, and then put in, there was a recent interview I just did, which came out really good too, on WBGO radio called Sports Jam. And it also talks about my work in professional sports. In addition, though, I'm also a professional musician and I have an album coming out. So that show, Sports Jam, is a synergy between professional sports and jazz. So they also combine my work in as a jazz musician too. So Doctor, and then also drdavidlevine.com is my site. It's not a very slick website, but it's authentic because it's got all professional athletes speaking about my treatment. So, uh, and then there are probably about 6 stories that have been written about me in professional sports. So yeah, is anything else I could add to that?
No, Dr. Levine, this has been fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a call. Tell him you heard him on the Get Authentic with Marques Ogden show. Great guy, took lots of notes. Be able to put that into the show notes. Again, we want to thank the Mandel Family Office for sponsoring this episode and the authentic tip of this great interview. You heard Dr. Levine say it. He offered up his services for free to get into the door. And you have to learn in life, you have to sacrifice in order to get. You want to get in great shape, you have to sacrifice with the gym. You have to watch what you eat. You have to take care of yourself. If you want to start a business and grow and get to a new line of people, you have to sacrifice and you have to give something in order to get something. Remember this, everybody wants greatness, but very few people are willing to pay the price tag. Again, everybody wants greatness, but very few are willing to pay the price tag. If you're one of the few, you can have whatever your heart desires. Again, my name is Marques Ogden. I am the host of the Get Authentic with Marques show. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day.